Clients and community members are always asking me how they can pass prompt firm challenges faster. So today, I'm going to walk you guys through a financial model showing how we can either pass or fail a rapid challenge in, on average, 1 week. So, what is a rapid challenge? A rapid challenge is offered by a few different prop firms, and the premise behind it is that you have a very small profit target, but you also have some extremely strict rules. In the case of Blueberry, and I know DNA Funded offers something rather similar, the profit target is a mere 5%, so super low. However, your max total loss is only 4%, and your daily loss is 3%. So why would anybody do this kind of challenge? And really the reason why is because let's say you look at a traditional one-step account. Here you have a greater amount of a max total loss, and you have even a more significant daily loss. However, your leverage is exactly the same. So if you look down here, your leverage is 1 to 10 for indices, whereas if you go to the rapid challenge here, your leverage is also 1 to 10 for indices. So effectively, if you are contrasting the two, if your limiting factor to being able to go quick is the leverage, because you're simply given the same leverage in both scenarios, being given the lower profit target enables you to pass faster because of the fact that you simply don't have to go as far. What I mean by that is, let's say that you had a unlimited leverage and you had a better profit target to drawdown ratio. In theory, in the one step, if you could simply scale your size due to the leverage, you would then be able to probably pass in a relatively similar period of time. However, because the bottleneck, the limiting factor is the leverage here in our ability to pass quickly, the rapid can actually be one of the fastest ways to pass. At the same time, we don't want to do anything silly here, like use gambling where we enter with all of our margin on one particular trade and don't use a stop loss. So effectively, what I'm going to walk you guys through right now is how we can risk only 1.5% per trade, but potentially still also pass this thing in a week on average, or we can fail it in a week on average or less. But because we have a statistical edge, we should in theory pass significantly more accounts than we fail, and we should have a net positive result. So don't try this at home if you're not willing to potentially burn some accounts. However, just more as a scientific experiment here, let's see if we're able to get a payout using this methodology. So I actually bought one of these accounts and we'll be testing this in the coming week, but I wanted to walk you guys through the financial model today. So before we head over to Excel, let's look at a few key points here. As previously mentioned, our profit target is 5%, the max total loss is 4%, daily loss is 3%, and we have an 80% profit split. A huge thing to keep in mind is we have a trailing drawdown. I personally detest trailing drawdowns, but I will be using one here because unfortunately with rapid challenges, you almost always have to take this. So as we're taking a more aggressive approach anyway, and we're hoping to catch a run of winners, the trailing drawdown will just have to be a necessary evil in this example. Something else to keep in mind is the leverage here. Most one-phase rapid or instant funding challenges heavily limit you on the leverage. And here we have only 1 to 10. Some firms like Funded Next only give you 1 to 5 on indices. And ultimately the reason why we're doing this whole exercise is we're going to the point where we're not leverage constrained, just because of the example which we're going to use is more of a high risk reward system, and our bottleneck here is more the total loss, which we will potentially hit relatively quickly. So let's now move into Excel. The first thing I'm going to show you guys here is the max leverage calculator. So for a system where we have such limited leverage, we are going to have to use a high risk reward system. So the bot and the expert advisor which we're going to use is our German Lightning expert advisor, which trades the opening range breakout on the DAX. The good thing about German Lightning is it is a very positive risk reward system. That means that our win rate is only going to be around 40%. However, we can win anywhere from 1 to 2, or on average is around 1 to 2.5 positive risk reward. However, we can sometimes have 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5. So sometimes we can even actually pass the entire prop firm challenge with only one trade, just because we're using a very high risk reward system. Here, we're going to be using a $10,000 account, and we're going to only be using 10 times leverage. That means that we're only going to place one order here, despite the fact that this is usually a breakout collar-based system with a buy stop and a sell stop. Because we're leverage constrained, we're only going to use one order. So we're going to use a trend filter to only place either a buy stop and or a sell stop, or a sell stop. And that means that we're going to be able to risk a maximum of 1.5%. So effectively, if you just calculate your buying power, you calculate based on the price of German 40 and based on the size of our stop loss of 0.15%, we are only able to risk 1.5%. So effectively, I encourage you guys to do the math yourselves, but this is essentially just working backwards from our total buying power based on our stop loss. How much are we able to risk? Because the stop loss times effectively the buying power determines how much we're able to risk of the account size. But our reward, because this is a positive risk reward bot, we can potentially make 4.5%. We can make over 5% and potentially pass rather quickly. So moving on, we can now move into our financial model here, where I took a back test and I took all the trades and I essentially plotted them here, and using conditional formatting, I'm showing you times we took a loss and or we took a win. And here, let's imagine we're using a $5,000 account, as that's simply the back test which I ran, but you would just multiply everything by 2 for the $10,000 example. So in our theoretical example here, we have a $5,000 account with a max drawdown of $200, and to pass, we need to make 5%, so we need to make $250 to pass. And our risk amount here, we're risking 1.5% per trade. Keep in mind that this is a trailing drawdown, not a static drawdown. So if, let's say, we were to go up by $200, we can assume that our max drawdown level has now also moved up with us. So if we were to retrace by $200, we would then fail here. So just one thing to note. And essentially what I did here is I went through manually, because honestly I probably could have codified this, but I wanted to do it manually just to get a feel for it, and went through and said like, hey, if we were to start a challenge here, how quickly would we have failed and or passed? So a great example is, had we started one on the 1st of March 2024, we would have failed in a few days. However, let's go here. If we had started on the 8th of April 2024, we would have passed in 2 days. Because essentially, we are risking a high amount, and our goal is to either pass and or fail rather quickly. Here on the 6th of May 2024, in one trade, we would have passed the entire challenge. Same thing here in August, and so on and so forth. So effectively, guys, you can see that we would have passed and or failed rather quickly using this approach. And why this is beneficial is if you're essentially looking to pass really quickly and build up a bank of prompt firm challenges, this approach can essentially work. Because here we're seeing that based on this crude model, we started 48 challenges, of which we failed 20 and we passed 27. This row here relates to the 2 which we passed in just one trade. That means that we have roughly a 54% challenge pass rate, which is vastly higher than most people. And essentially, once we pass these challenges, we can then change the approach which we're using to trade them, and instead trade them in a much more conservative way, just to be able to get our money back. Particularly in the case of Blueberry Funded, in these particular challenges, we need to wait 2 weeks to get a payout, but at the same time, we only need 3 trading days. So in theory, the smart thing to do is every time you get a payout, just trade it for 3 days with low risk, or even a bit more than that with low risk, and wait for your payouts to receive. And essentially build up a bank of prop firm challenges or prop firm accounts using this approach, which you then put with a diversified portfolio of bots to slowly get payouts. In all honesty, I have yet to try this approach. I'm currently trying this right now, but along with more of our consistent portfolio-based, lower risk approach to pass prop firm challenges, this is simply a more rapid passing method, which I am excited to test and try out, and will report back with some data on YouTube so you guys can see if this works for you. So guys, hope you found this video useful, and leave me a comment if you have any clarifying questions. Take care.